Welcome to the Cravings Workshop. So, if you are watching the recording, we're going to go through some couple really quick points just to get all of the knowledge out there. And then for anyone who's live, we're going to workshop together. So, bonus points for anyone who's here live. But if you are watching the recording, we have a way for you to do that at home as well. And then we have plenty of time for Q&A. We have some pre-submitted questions as well as time for live Q&A. So we'll get to all of that. And so I'm going to kind of quickly go through this. We also have a podcast episode, which I will make sure to share, or Kat, maybe if you don't mind dropping the link to that in the chat as well, where we deep dive into the topic. But I think we're going to get a lot more done today by focusing specifically on you all and your cravings and some of your challenges. So why we're here, I want to start with a quiz. Does anyone know what this stands for? And I'll give you a hint. This is not the sunscreen rating on a shirt, although it's that too. Anyone know what UPF means? Oh man, I was hoping someone would get it. Okay. Well, ultra processed foods. And the reason I bring this up, we'll cover in a second, but this goes hand in hand with cravings a lot. And this is a huge problem because, oh, did someone put it in the chat? Oh no, Captain. The reason this is a huge problem, there's a really famous study on ultra processed foods from about, I think it was 15 years ago, and they separated people into quartiles, four different categories of how often they eat ultra processed foods. And the people who ate the most ultra processed foods, I think it was over 50% of their diet, had a 31% higher mortality rate. So yes, are we going to talk about fat loss, which is like for most people their immediate goal? Absolutely. But if you know Kat and myself at all, you know that we're not just about losing weight and looking good for summer, even though it's around the corner. There's lots of unhealthy ways to do that. What we want to do is help you eliminate your cravings in a way that helps you hit your goals, but also sets you up for success long term. Having these ultra processed foods as part of your diet regularly is not the best thing for your long term health. Is there a place for them? Of course. We believe no food is off limits, but we don't want to be dependent on these things. They're not good for us. So I think most of you on this call know us. If you don't know me, I'm Andrew, GM of Alta, certified nutrition and fitness coach as well. But Kat was also my coach several years ago and my wife's coach. And I was just so blown away by her that I quit my job to build a company with her. And now we co-founded this company together. Kat, you want to say hello as well?
Hey everyone, I'm Kat, personal trainer and holistic nutritionist. I am just about to hit the 10-year mark of doing this. So
Wow.
I'm going to say I've been doing this for 10 years. But yeah, happy to be here and looking forward to this chat.
Love it. And we do a lot of body composition. It's probably our most popular thing. It's why people come to us early on, a lot of times, build muscle, lose fat, look different in their skin, which we totally support as long as you do it in a way that's healthy. But if you talk to anyone who's done our program, and some of them are on this call, like you will hear the same thing from all of them, which is about building healthy habits for life in a way that is holistic, right? Having more energy, fixing digestion, building muscle. All of these things are important. We're not just going to talk about how to use willpower exclusively to eliminate cravings because that's not a good long-term strategy. So we're going to cover a little more in depth today. So back to ultra processed foods, that is typically where the cravings come from, right? I think most people, if you're on this call or watching this recording, you're not like, man, I was craving broccoli yesterday. Because first of all, if you are, like, go ahead, dive in. I challenge you to eat so much broccoli that you get bloated and all that stuff. I think, would you have some digestive issues, Kat, maybe with this vegetable like this? But generally speaking, the problem is that we're surrounded by ultra processed food. And unfortunately, this isn't going to change. It doesn't matter, who's in office, what regulations are passed. Like, you're going to go to the grocery store and see this stuff. And alcohol is part of our culture and all of these things. And so we just need to learn how to deal with it in moderation in a way that makes us happy, but also helps us hit our goals. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And most of you have probably seen this before, but when it comes to finding your ideal diet, food quantity is a really small part, like calories in, calories out. And it's evidenced by the broccoli example is like you could eat as much broccoli as you possibly wanted, probably, and not gain weight because it's just very satiating. So really what you want to focus on instead of calories is food quality. Are you satiated? Are you dealing with inflammation, hormone balance, gut health? Like these are the things that most people don't think about when they first try to go on a diet or try to work on their cravings. Like, oh, I got to eat less sugar. It's like, yeah, maybe, but what else can you do to help with those cravings. And then the third part is food mindset. And this is mostly what we're going to focus on today: stress eating, other reasons why you are craving what you're craving. We all have this. It doesn't matter what you do for a living, whether you're a parent or not. We all have cravings that have been ingrained in us for one reason or another. And this is all part of the puzzle and all stuff we'll talk about today. All right, Kat, take it away.
All right. So when it comes to cravings, we can't understand them if we don't know why you're having them. And we try to identify, sometimes it can be, on the harder side, but if we look at these three categories, I think most of our cravings will fall into one of these three buckets. And in turn, that will help you understand how to manage it more. So the first one we have is a nutrient deficiency. When your body lacks specific nutrients, it's really smart, so it can trigger cravings and attempt to restore that balance. This is a specific type of hunger, and this is really your body's like biological drive to maintain an internal balance. It's trying to get more of the thing that it doesn't have enough of, which can cause like unique food cravings for some people. I would say a lot of people aren't in this category, but some of the most popular ones that you could have, one would be magnesium. Magnesium is like eaten up by your body very quickly, especially if you're high stress. It's used in like 300 bodily processes. So this one's easily to be depleted. And one of the foods that has a ton of magnesium in it is chocolate. So there's a lot out there that could imply if you have really strong chocolate cravings, perhaps it could mean you are depleted in magnesium. Or other magnesium foods would be like leafy greens. But when your body really needs a specific thing, it can crave like the most dense source of it. So chocolate is a really efficient one. Another one that I think is pretty common could be salt cravings. If you are low in electrolytes or you have like adrenal dysfunction or like really high stress and your adrenal glands are like fighting for their life, you could have more salt cravings. And I would say this is probably one of the most common ones people have in the nutrient category. If you're high stress, if you worked out a lot one day, you might notice that all of a sudden you crave a lot more salt. And that's exactly what's going on. Your body is just fighting to balance out your electrolytes a little bit more. And then another one could be sugar cravings. Your body is not lacking sugar, right, as far as a nutrient. But if you have blood sugar instability, that means you eat a high carb meal, goes up, and then it drops right back down. And now your body craves something to bring your energy back up. So that is why like your blood sugar dysregulation can cause intense sugar cravings. It's not like it's a permanent thing, but in a temporary state, it could be something that, your body is really trying to get a hold of just because it's trying to equalize itself out. And there's a lot of research also of women who, maybe lack iron or zinc, especially related to menstruation, have way more intense cravings. And it just has to do with those nutrient levels. So that could be one. And I would say these are probably things you tend to crave on a regular basis, maybe in a random moment like a salt craving, but, if you like are constantly craving chocolate all day long, then this could be something at play here, perhaps. And then the second one we have is habitual. So this is where your cravings have almost become conditioned responses to something. They are now part of your brain circuitry because you have created a routine and you've done it so many times that now your brain thinks, after we eat dinner, we have something sweet. Like you have just created that habit loop. This is, we all know of how like there's a cue and then a habit and then a reward. That's the reward for the thing. So this is really easy to just get into a habitual place with. The good thing is that the brain can easily be rewired. So if you just change the habit, change the stimulus, this can reverse itself. But it is easy when you see that you get in the same pattern over and over, like having pizza every Friday, having something sweet after, dinner, or even like having coffee first thing in the morning. These can be habitual things that make you crave specific things. And again, like I said, you can change this up and drastically reduce the craving you have if you just, change that little stimulus. But pay attention to if you tend to get the same craving at the same times of day, doing the same things, that's probably what you have going on here is you've just created a habit and now your brain is smart and thinks that, oh, this is the thing we want. So let's do it. And the last one we have here is related to dopamine. So I would call of this more of like a hedonic hunger, which is craving food for pleasure, only pleasure. There's no energy. Your body doesn't need anything from this food, but it is purely just like activating those, happy neurotransmitters in your brain. And that's enforcing this behavior over and over. Typically, when we're in like the dopamine category, this is where people eat really highly palatable foods. So any food that might have sugar, salt, and fat all in one, that typically could be categorized as hyperpalatable. No foods in nature have all of those things present in a single food, which is why, like the broccoli, no one's like craving broccoli hardcore. But if we were to say we're going to add, like a honey sesame ginger sauce to your broccoli, I bet you could eat a lot more of it. That's exactly what's going on there. We've like added some highly processed component to the thing to make it more palatable. And then your brain gets a spike and it goes, wow, that felt amazing. Let's do it again next time. And then it kind of goes over and over. And the reason this happens with these processed foods is they bypass a lot of the reward centers of the brain, and your body doesn't know when to stop because it's not recognizing what these foods are. So you're very easy or likely to overeat them in excess and then feel pretty bad after. And I know a lot of people are aware of this, but there are MRI studies that show, someone who is doing a, very addictive drug and eating sugar, it's activating the same reward centers in the brain. So that's exactly why people can also get addicted to food when they're sad and things like that. It's just they're getting that trigger. So those are really the three categories of where cravings are come from. So as I'm talking, you're probably putting yourself into these buckets, and it could be certain foods are one type of craving and other foods are another. So that's just one thing to just try to think about a little bit more to kind of see where you fit.
And then we'll take questions on this now for anyone live, but we're gonna do a bit of a workshop here. So if you're not at work on mute and you can participate, I think, or even just take 2 minutes and do these three steps. One would be pick a craving. If it's a specific food, I think that's ideal, but it can also be a category like, salty foods in the afternoon or sweets after dinner. And then just write down as many details as you can about those cravings. So like when does it happen? Is it certain days of the week? Is it certain hours? Is it both? Is it related to stress or your family? And then choose which category it falls into, and it could be more than one. And then come up with a strategy to manage this next time it occurs. I think you'll be amazed at how much you can actually solve this problem right now. So if you're watching the recording, just pause and do this for 5 minutes. And if you're on with us, we'll all just do this together. Kat and I are, of course, going to coach you on this, but we wanted to give you a couple of minutes to just try this first, because I think you'll be impressed at how much you can solve your own problem. And I'll give you an example if it helps. I drink beer. I don't have any plans to not drink beer anymore, but I have been very much reducing my alcohol consumption over the last 5, 10 years. And for me, it definitely is very much a craving. I don't think it's a nutrient deficiency at all. Outside of like if I run a marathon, sometimes like a beer sounds really good because I'm dehydrated and probably lacking some carbs. So like that sounds like a great thing. But otherwise, it's mostly habitual and dopamine, some combination of going out with friends and anticipating that dopamine reward, or Friday night stressful week, habitual there with also a dopamine reward. So for me, I have mechanisms in place. I drink a non-alcoholic beer. I make an herbal tea. Sometimes I'll change the setting of where I'm going with my friends, knowing that if I don't want to drink and I do go to a bar, I will. So these are all strategies that I have put into place to reduce my drinking, and so that's just one example. Kat, anything to add, or should we move to giving them everybody a minute or two?
Um, well, I was thinking one thing for me in the summer, I tend to crave a lot more fruit. I don't really care about fruit that much. I like berries, but in the summer, I want watermelon bad. I want pineapple, I want citrus, and I want it cold. And I know that's because I'm outside more, I'm sweating more, and my body does want the quick hydration and the sugar especially if I'm being active outside. But like in the winter, I'm never ever going to eat watermelon, don't care. So that's something where I think about, I'm like, I do get these, and I would say that's probably more of like nutrient deficiency or related to the situation that I start like craving more of those things. So it could also be, something like that. Maybe it's seasonal, hot chocolate in winter. People definitely crave that, or like warm things. So, that could be something you also brainstorm around.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Well, I want to end it with our challenge for anyone watching the recording, and then I'm going to stop this so we can have an intimate setting here. Our challenge launches next week. We're going to cover some of this in addition to being able to coach you more specifically on your cravings. I think number one, we want to eliminate, is this a nutrient deficiency? We can just, check that off in our challenge, but also talk to you specifically. What are you trying to work on and help you implement that over the next 14 days? So if you want to join that, this is the QR code. I'll also make sure I send it out in the follow-up. Everyone on this call, we'll talk about this again after, but if you're watching the recording, I would encourage you to spend 5 minutes with this workshop and then come to our challenge with your problems and we will help you solve it. That's kind of how we'll help you if you're watching the recording. But otherwise, I'll stop it here and everyone live, we'll do this together. Cool.